Hello, everybody. Ted Huntington here with another author interview sponsored by Women's Rights Publishing and Author Services. Today, I'm chatting with author, artist, songwriter, and earth angel, Beth Worsdell. Please like and follow our videos on YouTube and support these very informative interviews by becoming a Patreon. I talk for a living, a Patreon patron. So welcome, Beth Worsdell.
Oh, thank you. I'm not sure I could have done that any better, to be honest with you.
I'm sure you can.
I get super tongue-tied when it comes to words that are so closely related. So I think you just nailed that.
Patreon patron. Say that 10 times fast.
I couldn't after a couple of years, I don't think.
So who is Beth Worsdell? Hopefully, say your last name, because I know
right. No, it's okay. Worsdell. You got it spot on.
I know. Clearly, you hail from Great Britain. Beth, you are a science fiction, fantasy, and paranormal romance author, and you've done something rather remarkable, publishing books in both adult and YA editions, giving readers a choice between books with and without what you call naughty bits. So, yes. How do you do that? What does it take to create completely different versions of a novel, and why?
The whole thing, the reason it started is because I've still got a daughter in high school, and she's only just starting to go down the driving route. So every day I would be picking her up from school, dropping her off. And one of the things I noticed was the lack of communication between the parents that were waiting for their children and the kids that are coming out of school. So I'm a people watcher. I think most authors are people watchers. You know, we gain so much information from just watching people doing everyday things, and it's all content we put in our books. So I'd be sat in the car waiting for my daughter to come out, and I would notice all these teenagers coming out and they're glued to their phones, and their parents would be in the cars glued to their phones. And then the kids would get in the cars and they would start driving off, and the kids would still be on the phones, and there was no conversation, and that just broke my heart. My husband and I, we are big communicators with our children. We love to, how was your day? How was your lesson? How did you do on your test? What's going on? And I think that's so important, especially with the rise in childhood depression and all these other illnesses. It's super important to have that communication with your kids. I wanted to do something that would help parents stay connected with their teens and have something to talk about. So as I was writing Earth's Angels, I thought, I really want parents and children to read this, and I want them to be able to talk about the topics in the book, like being environmentally friendly, and what would we do if the earth started dying, and and what sort of environmental impact do we have. I want parents and teens to talk about these things and enjoy a roller coaster ride of a story, So I thought, okay, well, what if I do two different versions, an adult version with adult content and language for the adults that, prefer and a more adult read, and then a safe, clean version for their teens so they can read the exact same story, but as you said, with or without the naughty bits and language. With hindsight, I should have written the young adult editions first and then made them into more adult content, but I actually did it the other way around, just because it was easy, it flowed easier for me as I was writing. But I've been overwhelmed by people's responses to it, to be honest with you. I get so many messages saying how much they love the fact that they can read it with their teens, and they can carry on reading with their children as they go into the teen years. Because let's face it, you've got children. Normally we read to our children when they're little, but when they get to a certain age, that all seems to stop. And it's a shame, so hopefully I'll be able to help parents continue reading with their children and always have something in common.
Well, how time consuming is that though?
It was time consuming, not so much the editing part, because when I was writing the adult editions, I highlighted, as I was writing it, I was highlighting the content that needed to be removed later on or altered and changed to make it safe. What did take the time was obviously editing and formatting 6 books instead of 3. And obviously the extra cost of doing the book covers, because the book covers had to be slightly different just to indicate that this is adult and this is young adult. So but it's worth it. Honestly, every time I get a message from a new reader, it is worth every single bit of effort. And I'm hoping, I'm hoping to start a bit of a trend, because a lot of the adults that read my books love having the choice. Not all my readers want to read adult sex scenes and hear adult language. They prefer the young adult content because it is, it doesn't make them feel uncomfortable. So my stories are for adults across the board, men and women of all ages. And it is exactly the same story, just minus the naughty bits and the language.
I think it's brilliant, and I'm with you. I hope it really starts to trend. That would be interesting to see.
I hope so. I hope so. And it's nice to give readers a choice. And plus, as an author, it's great for me because I'm literally able to, sell my books to the adult market and the young adult market as well. So I'm, hopefully it will catch on.
So you write about badass women, so you fit perfectly with an interview sponsored by Women's Rights. I'm curious, what goes into your character development? Do you form their personalities and their character arc before the story, or is it story first and then characters? Explain that process.
It was all a natural development, really, to be honest with you, because I had no intention of writing a sci-fi fantasy book at all. It all stemmed from a really vivid, specific dream that I had that just wouldn't leave me alone for 2.5 years. So when I started writing this dream down, with the thought, okay, if I write this down, then it will stop popping in my brain all the time. I had no idea it was going to develop into a story. And it wasn't until I'd actually written a lengthy piece and thinking, oh my gosh, this is actually 3 chapters worth of a book. I'm writing a book. I just went with the flow. I just wrote my heart out, no planning. And as I was writing it and the events started happening, my characters just came into a life of their own, because all of a sudden, their lives were being threatened and the lives of their loved ones were being threatened. The planet was on the brink. And all of a sudden, these characters started finding inner strength that they didn't realize they had. And I think we are very much like that. I don't think as humans, and especially as women, we have such protective instincts towards our children. It is unreal. And obviously, I can't express what it's like from a dad's, father's point of view, but we start bonding with our children the moment we start feeling them move. And by the time they're born and we hold them for the first time, we just look at our babies and know instantly that we would die to protect that child. It's that strong a feeling. And because my main protagonist is a mother of 4 children, as all these events start happening, threatening her family, world, and everything else she loves, she finds this inner strength, and she is adamant she is going to do everything possible to protect everything she loves. So, and I think we're very much like that. As parents, we are very, very much like that.
Yeah, I love that. I love that theme. So you're also the host of a very popular Witty Writers Facebook live show. And you do a lot. You touched on this already, a lot to help promote other writers. How did the Witty Writers show come about? That's kind of a tongue twister as well. And what's the objective of those interviews?
It all started because I joined a writing group, and I was quite active in it, and realized that there are a lot of authors out there that just don't know where to start. That it's a case of they don't know what to research to find the information that they need to make themselves successful. And it's a huge deal. I mean, the book publishing industry is massive, and if you're not an author, people have a very romantic view of being an author, and oh, it's lovely, being an author is fantastic. But the actual serious side of publishing your own books and being your own brand is
Which is why we're doing these interviews, so
exactly.
everybody, all the other writers, understand what it takes.
Exactly. It's a huge deal, and it takes so much research and so much learning experience. And I think even when you've been doing it a number of years like I have, you're still constantly learning all the time, especially if you're doing your own marketing and everything else. So I joined this group and was asked if I'd be interested in maybe doing a couple of author interviews to help some other authors out. Well, I used to be part of a radio show back in the UK, and I was a music judge. And we was on a panel, and it was the most fun I've ever had. Sorry about my doorbell going off, by the way. At least it sounds nice. But it was great fun. So we used to listen to songs, and myself and my other panel members used to talk about whether it was going to be a hit or a miss. It was a blast. I had so much fun. We had quite a big following. So when I got asked to do the author interviews, I thought, yeah, I can do that, and I've always been in sales. I've always talked to people, finding their need, supplying their need. I thought I'd give it a go. Well, it just took off. And I was getting constant messages from authors. Can I be on? Can I be on? Can we be on? So I decided I needed to take it more seriously, because there was a need for it, especially as the pandemic hit. All of a sudden, all these authors had no way of promoting themselves because they weren't able to do book signings or any type of book convention or any other events.
Right.
And because they weren't used to doing everything online, they were stuffed. They were stuck. What do I do now? What do I do now? I've got a new book coming out. How do I promote it? So I decided, it's something that I'm good at. And I don't mean that in an egotistical way. I'm just naturally good at talking to people. And I've always been too friendly. I say hello to everybody. My children are always saying to me, why do you say hello to everybody? Because it brightens people's day. It can make somebody's day having a smile or a greeting. So I thought, okay, I'm going to do this. So I decided to step away from the group and be more proactive, helping all authors, not just, authors within the group. And it's been a massive success. I love the name I picked, the Witty Writers Show, because I am quite witty. I'm quite funny. I like to think that I bring out people's personalities, because I chat with them 10 minutes before we do the live show, to get rid of any nerves and get to know them a little better. And within 10 minutes, we're talking like we're old friends. So when we go live, they're very relaxed, and we just talk about their book journey, what their books are about, funny stories that they have, especially Google searches, because if somebody looked at my laptop and all the Google searches I do for my books, they'd be a bit scared.
It does take a lot of research to do a book.
I know, right? But it's brilliant. And this week, I've been blown away, actually, because this week, my events on my show have now reached, I think they've reached up to 57,000, which is amazing. So,
wow. That's impressive.
It is. It really is. And I think it's increased by 24,000 over the last 3 months. So it's brilliant. And my show is giving so much to people who are at any level of the writing and publishing industry. I recently interviewed Mark Gottlieb, who's one of the top agents at Trident Media Group in New York. It's rated the top literary agency time and time again. And I reached out to him on LinkedIn, and we connected. And when he messaged me, he said, I'm a big fan of the show. I'd love to be on it. And I'm like, oh, that would be so good. And it was fantastic because, Mark is such a wealth of knowledge. He's got so much experience, it's a family business. So, he's got so much knowledge from, his parents and his colleagues and everything else. And he's willing to share it, which is wonderful, because who doesn't want to learn information from people who are the best in their field.
Oh, definitely.
So, and he's agreed to actually come on and do some other shows as well. So he's coming back on the Witty Writers Show live on the 19th of this month. And we're going to talk about big book ideas and is there a market for your idea? Because I think it's super important that authors learn the industry. You know, they need to understand what genre markets sell really well, what are really popular, which genres sell the most books, and which ones they're not going to make the money on, and which ones they are going to struggle with, because you need to have that information.
Right. And every genre really is its own industry and its own writing style as well.
Absolutely. Everything plays a factor. Everything plays a factor.
Right. Well, hats off and kudos to you, because I've seen several Witty Writers shows that they really are phenomenal. You do a great job with that.
Oh, thank you. And just a quick FYI, I'm doing a promotion at the moment because obviously I want to try and give everybody a chance to be on the show. I am having to sort of be more selective of who I bring in, because obviously it's very time consuming. But I'm doing a promotion at the moment where if anybody subscribes to my YouTube channel this month, they get a chance that they get put in a draw to actually have an interview with me on the Witty Writers Show. So all they have to do is subscribe and they get a chance to be on the show.
That's great. Great. Thanks for giving your plug.
You're welcome. This is why I'm good at sales.
It's all about selling yourself.
It is. But on the bright side, you're going to be all over my social media later on.
Great. I appreciate that. Well, let's talk more about you. Enough about me. So you spent much of your life in Portsmouth, England. 2011, you came to the US. Now you live in California, where it's really hot. What do you think are the differences between American and British readers and writers, if any?
That is so interesting. The only main difference I can think of really are the slang and the terminology that we use. That's something a lot of my readers picked up on, because a lot of people thought because I live in the US, I was American. So when I would use words that were more British, they would get a little bit confused, and I would get messages saying, hey, I'm not sure this grammar's correct. Well, actually it's British, and that is the proper way of saying it. So I had to sort of be a bit clearer with all of my social media and wherever I am, to highlight I am British. And in actual fact, my main character in my sci-fi trilogy, her parents were British. So she does come out with the odd little thing that is more British than American. And people seem to love that. And I think that having had the show helps, because they actually hear me speak, and that helps a lot, because they're like, oh, okay, I can, when I'm reading her books now, I can actually hear her saying, reading it to me almost. So I think that's amazing. I'm so sorry, my I'm getting so many pings here, and I don't know why. I don't know why that's doing that, so I do apologize.
That's okay.
But other than that, I've had oh my gosh, I'm literally gonna, bear with me 1 second. I am so sorry.
Your fries are done.
I no, it's actually my clients that are messaging me. Doing a live. Okay, hopefully that'll stop. I don't know why that's doing that, because I'm literally,
just shows how popular you are.
I know. Well, it's been great, because since I started my group and started the show and everything, I've had many people that I've worked with recommended me to other authors. So I now actually do one-on-one coaching sessions for authors. I don't do anything, I don't do everything for them. I actually teach them how to do it themselves. So, formatting their books, editing their books, and doing their own promotional items, planning their promotional stuff. This is driving me crazy. I'm sorry. So I'm literally giving authors the tools to do it themselves. So by the time I'm finished with them, they don't have to rely on other people. They're not spending out hundreds and thousands. and they're just constantly saving money and having more control over their own career. And it's been a joy to do. I've got a number of clients already, and that's just through personal recommendation. And it's wonderful. I mean, one of my clients has literally just overhauled her first book. We've changed the book cover, we've done the blurb, and now you put it next to the top sellers and it looks like it's supposed to be there. It's super exciting.
Yeah, that is exciting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit more about your books. The Earth Angels trilogy. That's Earth Angels, The Marillions, and Destination Unknown. You also have Kaleidoscope Hearts, which is a collection of 13 short stories. And I don't know if you're done with it yet. Jinx, The Christmas Spirit. How did the Earth Angels trilogy come about?
Well, as I said, it all started from such a vivid dream, and that was really unusual for me because I'm sure my husband would tell you if he could, I sleep like a log. It's very rare I remember any dreams. I'm such a deep sleeper, but this dream was so vivid. It was like I was there. I was Mel, my protagonist, in that room, waking up, not knowing who I am, where I am, and all of a sudden these angelic looking aliens are coming into the room speaking a different language, and I'm pretending to be asleep because I don't know what to do. You know, I was there. It was that vivid, and it stuck in my mind and made such an impact on me that the following day, we were spending the day on a local lake, and this was in South Carolina. And I remember telling my friend about this dream. And when I finished describing it, I said to her, wouldn't it make an amazing movie? And she went, yeah, it really, really would. But this dream just wouldn't leave me alone. It just kept talking to me. I'd be doing something around the house and it popped in my thoughts again. And I thought, I need to write this down. And when I finished writing down what I remembered and how I felt and described the scene, the next part of the story was just forming in my head. And then I'd write that down and it was just constantly flowing. When I got, I would say about 3/4 of the way through book 1, I realized that this was going to be a big story. It was going to be more than one book. And my mind was just reeling, it just wouldn't stop. And I thought, okay, this is going to be at least 3 books long. So as soon as I started promoting and marketing Earth Angels, I promoted it as book 1 of 3 with that plan. And it just went that way. But I have left the end of Destination Unknown. I finished the trilogy, but I've left it open to possibilities of adventures with some of the other characters.
Oh, nice. Spin-offs.
Yes, so that the rest, there are characters that have sort of moved on and gone on to other things, and then there are other stories possibly coming, which hopefully everybody will be pleased about, because I'm constantly getting messages saying, "I want more."
Have you considered? You mentioned that it could be a movie. Have you mentioned trying to adapt into a screenplay?
That is the plan, and I didn't initially have that plan, I have to tell you, Ted, but I've received so many messages and comments and people mentioning it in their reviews. This needs to be a movie. This needs to be a movie. I had to start taking them, my readers seriously, because so many of them were saying it. So that is something I am looking at doing, because I find it very difficult to find people to work with who are as driven as I am. I think I'll probably do it myself and teach myself how to write the screenplay, because I'm that type of person. If you learn to do something yourself, you don't have to rely on anybody else. You can add another feather in your cap. It's another part of your profession and career. So I would like to do that, and I have started connecting with people in the movie industry, such as executives from production companies and that type of thing. So I'm already preparing and connecting with the right people to hopefully approach later on.
That's exciting.
I am super excited. I really, really am. And it's funny because I recently had a book trailer created for an upcoming promotion giveaway, which is, there we go, I'll show you. So this is what I'm giving away at the moment.
That's cool.
It's beautiful. So if I created the book trailer, and anybody who shares it, tags 5 friends, get to be put in the draw. But when I posted the trailer, I had so many people saying, oh, does this mean it's coming out as a movie? They got so excited. I'm like, oh, hopefully soon. But it's going to take time, because obviously, you know, learning a new skill, you know, like, you know, writing screenplays, it is a skill and an art form. So you can't take it lightly. You have to do a lot of research, a lot of trial and error. And you know, you're teaching yourself a whole new skill set. It's quite, I will not get daunted. I'm just going to take my time and try and figure it all out.
It is a whole different animal, writing a screenplay versus a novel, for sure. I hate to spring this on you, but if you have one of your books available, I was going to give you a moment if you wanted to read a couple of chapters, do a little story time. It's up to you if you want to throw that out there and do a little.
You are such an angel. I don't mind being put on the spot at all. I will show you them first. If I show you them, and then I can read from one of them if you like. So this is book 1 of the Earth Angels trilogy. And just to give you an FYI, in the back, I don't know if you can see this, I actually give my readers ideas of how they can be more environmentally friendly. So because a lot of my readers get quite taken back by my book, and they're like, oh, what can I do to help prevent this? You know, and I don't want people to get the wrong impression, because it is not a depressing story at all. It's a very uplifting story about, you know, being saved by an alien species and, you know, saving the planet. So it's a very positive book. But yeah, you can literally find lots and lots of tips and ideas of how to be more environmentally friendly.
That's brilliant. Bully for you.
Well, you know, it's nice to feel like you're making a difference, doesn't it? You know, this is the Marillions. There we go. Now, interestingly enough, for the authors that are watching, and it's not something that we generally think of, colors attract different readers. So the purples and blues on book 1 attracted more feminine readers, more females than men, even though men and women both enjoy my series. So with book 2, I decided to embrace more reds and dark colors to attract more male readers, which really worked, which is fantastic. And the reviews for the male readers are actually just as good, if not better, than the women's. So I'm like, yes.
That's interesting.
And then with book 3, Destination Unknown, I decided to go for all the colors. So I've got the blues and the purples, and obviously the more fiery reds as well.
A great cover art.
Thank you. My designer is absolutely fantastic. She really is. I know what I want in my head, so I create a mock-up with the images and arrange it how I want it, and then I send it to her, and then she does a professional job, because I haven't learned that skill yet.
That's another tough skill.
I know, right? There's just not enough hours in the day. There really, really isn't. I haven't got anything bookmarked, so I'm just going to completely wing it. And let's have a look. Let's see. I don't want to do anything that's going to give too much away.
While you're looking, I will remind the viewers to follow Beth on Earth's Angels on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram.
I am everywhere. I literally spread myself all over the place.
and we're going to post links to your books underneath the video. So.
Oh, thank you. Okay, I'm going to read a segment from chapter 17 of Earth Angels. There we go. This is the adult version, so I will try and censor myself just in case we got any younger readers. This is where Nalik, one of the angels, has just taken a shine to one of the human children. I say children, she's older teenager. So she's sort of 18, 19, and she's Mel's daughter. So all of a sudden they're like, oh, okay, what's happening here? But there are so few human survivors left because of what happened to Earth right at the beginning. You know, Mel and her husband realized that if humanity is to survive, finding love with anybody is going to be an achievement. So they're feeling a bit torn at the moment. So they're just heading to the holding structure where the humans are, you know, are living and are settled. And there's a pool, a natural pool that's been created and by the angels, and that's where they're heading. So just to give you a little bit of context. Okay. We continue towards the pool. James and I were completely intrigued, listening to Nalik and Holly making small talk. He was genuinely interested in what Holly did and didn't like, what she liked to do in her spare time, and what she wanted to do after we battled the Marillions. Holly seemed confident, telling him about herself, and appeared to be just as keen to find out more about him. What is your role among the angels, Nalik? Holly asked him. Nalik gave her another of his affectionate smiles. Good grief, he's totally smitten with her, I thought to myself. Shit, this is not going to end well. I couldn't help but worry about Holly after everything we'd been through. The last thing I wanted was her heart being broken if it didn't work out. I am a sky angel, Nalik told her proudly. I help to heal your ozone layer and remove the poisons from the air you breathe, he added. Holly certainly looked impressed by the look on her face. I like being here on your Earth, Holly. It is the only planet I've visited where there are beautiful sunsets and sunrises. I wake early to watch them, and when I have the opportunity, I sit by the ocean and watch the sunsets too. My daughter's eyes were looking more and more dreamily at Nalik. Luckily, we were arriving at the pool, and I could see Abigail and our boys in the water having fun. I could feel my heart soar with love as I watched the boys splashing each other while Abigail was trying to swim like a mermaid. Are you ready to go in? James asked, snapping me out of my reverie. Yes, I'm ready. Where do we get the swimwear? I asked as I looked around the pool area, trying to spot a pile of swimsuits and towels. I've said it before, baby, and I will say it again, he said, giving me his cheeky grin. These angels are like well-oiled machines. Taking me by the hand, he led me to some steps, leading down into the glistening water. I was so confused. What the heck was I supposed to wear after swimming when my dress got soaked? Going with the flow, I started to go down the steps, and just as the hem of my dress touched the water, it began to shrink, reshaping to my body. The bottom of it shrank to my butt, and the middle of the hem slid between my thighs, joining together as the top began to cling to my breasts. Within moments, I went from wearing a gown to wearing a swimsuit, and I was amazed. See, well-oiled machine, baby, James said, laughing at my expression as he led me further into the water. The water felt amazing on my legs, and it was just cool enough to be refreshing. As our kids started to swim towards us, I was expecting the fish and birds to swim away, but instead they followed the kids. There was no fear from them, and I watched in fascination as some colourful fish swam behind Abigail as if they were racing. Fantastic, isn't it, Mum? Harrison said as he reached James and me. His trousers and tunic had shrunk just like my gown, clinging to all his muscles. Bloody hell, my son is a muscle man. I was blown away by how manly both my boys had become. Both of them were now over 6 feet tall and looking like their dad. No wonder there were so many eyes on them from all the teenage girls in and around the pool. I was instantly aware of just how many young ladies there were, and my boys both appeared to be completely oblivious to them. It's truly amazing, I told Harrison. I could feel my heart swelling with love for my kids as I admired their happy faces. I suddenly wished that I hadn't got all my memories back. The awful memories of all the animals dying and rotting, and people and kids dying on the streets, and the horror on our children's faces. Those mental images were ingrained in my mind. However, if I hadn't have gotten my memories back, I wouldn't have had the stronger appreciation of my family and our planet. The glistening water felt cool on my skin as I continued down the steps. I could see tiny red fish swimming around my feet. Nalik passed me and gracefully dove into the water without even a splash, and Holly following behind him. Once I was fully submerged up to my neck, I swam towards James, Abigail, and the boys, enjoying the sheer happiness emanating from them. Every now and then, I could smell the scents from the tropical flowers that surrounded the pool. All of a sudden, I realized that James and Abigail had become animal magnets. It seemed that all the birds and fish in the pool were making a beeline for my husband and daughter as they were both swimming towards me. However, I was wrong. When the birds and fish reached James and Abigail, they kept going, swimming past them and heading for me. I stopped swimming and began to tread water, as did Anthony, Harrison, Holly, and Nalik. They all watched, entranced at what they were witnessing. Dad, Abigail, stop a minute. Anthony called out. James and Abigail stopped and started to tread water too, with confusion on their faces as they watched the birds and fish swim towards me. I felt something brush past my waist, and when I looked down, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Fish of all colors and sizes were swimming around me, circling my body and moving gracefully around my legs, torso, arms, and even around my neck. Whoa, what the heck? I said breathlessly. Every so often, I could feel one of the fish brush against my stomach. Not an aggressive bump, but almost affectionately. I felt something brush against my hair and my ear, so I looked up quickly and turned my head to see what it was. There, right next to my head, was a bird similar to a stork. It was big and quite impressive. Its body was black and white, while its beak was black with a vivid red. While I looked at it in complete surprise, it gave a squawk and then rubbed its beak against my head affectionately. I couldn't help the giggle that escaped me. Abigail and the others all began to laugh with me. I don't understand what's going on, I declared, amused, but very confused. There we go.
Wow, that's great. So much in there.
So Mel is pregnant by this stage, and her new baby is a new kind of human.
Ah.
So the end of the Earth dying triggers an evolutionary event, and things really start to change. So I will leave it at that. It's very intriguing, but yeah, it's a very family and friends oriented story, and a lot of my readers really connect with many of the characters. Some of them are super funny, some of them are a bit more reserved and cool, but they all turn out to be real badasses that are going to do anything to protect each other, their families, and the planet. It's a wonderful story.
Well, I can see where it could possibly translate to a movie. It sounds really intriguing. So unfortunately, we're coming to an end for our interview. I thoroughly enjoyed talking with you, Beth. Like I said, I'm going to post links to your work underneath. Thank you so much, Beth Worsdell. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me, and I always love chatting to you. So I will definitely have to get you on the Witty Writers as well.
I would love that. Thank you.
That's so cool. But thank you very much, darling.
Thank you. Take care.
And you. Bye for now.
Bye.